The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or IPCC, is the most authoritative body in the world on climate change. In 2007, it confirmed it's at least 90% sure that greenhouse gases generated by mankind are contributing to recent increases in global average temperatures. The IPCC is also at least 66% sure that warming caused by humans is already affecting many of the planet's physical and biological systems. And if we don't take action now, the future impacts of climate change could be huge, affecting the natural and the human environment.
Those changes will bring about impacts across society, the economy, what the countryside looks like, what town centres look like, how people behave, how plants and animals respond. So it's going to impact them on everything.
In this programme, we look at 4 very different human and animal habitats as examples of how climate change may affect our world. We begin with Africa, which the IPCC believes could be very vulnerable to change. Research indicates that by 2020, because of the results of climate change affecting rainfall patterns, between 75 and 250 million people in Africa could have severe problems due to lack of water. In some countries, agriculture that depends on rain might produce only 50% of current crop yields. The area that is climatically suitable for growing crops could shrink, and the growing season gets shorter. The seriousness of climate change depends not just on the scale of the change itself, but on people's ability to adapt to that change.
Well, some people are much more able to adapt to change. For example, here in Britain, we've got a social system that sort of supports people in need, and that can make us more sort of resilient to any sort of change. That's not to say that we're definitely going to be able to deal with climate change and that we won't need to adapt in any sort of way, but the impacts could be a lot more severe in places, for example in Africa, where there isn't a lot of money and there isn't the money to plough into technological change, or if you rely on one particular crop, for example, and your crop fails because of the monsoon rain's not coming, then that can really impact on your life.
Variations in climate are already causing problems in parts of Africa. For example, over 40 years, Lake Chad has shrunk to around 1/10 of its former size due to a drier climate and farmers taking water from it to irrigate their crops. And that shrinkage is making life very hard for fishermen who depend on the lake because fish stocks are decreasing.
It's a bit of an irony, really, that Africa, for example, is going to be really hard hit by climate change because they've hardly contributed anything to the world's global carbon emissions. They haven't burnt as much fossil fuels, for example, as America or Britain, and yet they're going to be the ones who will see probably the impacts first or be least able to deal with these impacts.